Hello and welcome to Youth and Social Life on Vanguard Life. My name is Dami, and today we'll be looking at the effect of COVID-19 in the education sector. Like you know, I won't be doing this alone. I have with me Mrs. Olabisi Deji Fulutile. She is the editor-in-chief franknow.com and also franktalknow.com, and also the former editor Saturday Punch. And she'll be discussing this with me. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. It's lovely having you with us in the studio. Now, talking about this education, the effect of COVID-19 in education. You know, some time ago, the Christian Association of Nigeria, MORIC, a lot of religious groups, you know, they were pressuring the government, you know, to lift the ban on the religious activities in the countries. And we know that some states have actually lifted the ban on these religious activities. Now the schools are also pressuring the government that they should lift the ban, they should open the schools. But the question is, how ready do you think we are to send our children back to school?
Well, that's a tough one. But maybe I should ask you, how ready is the society to have people back on the streets? You know, a lot of people have told us now that we are going to live with COVID-19 for a longer time than we probably assumed. And if that is the case, then it means that we need to learn how to move on with our lives even in spite of COVID-19. And that must have been responsible for the people asking for schools to reopen. I mean, if you look at it from this angle, that a lot of people, you know, a lot of things are coming back gradually. Now, you know, football is back.
Yes.
Now we are going back to work, and markets are open. So you now begin to ask yourself, for how long also do you want to keep the children at home? So I think we need to also work around how children should go back to school. Then look at, you know, regulations, you know, protocols for resumption. Maybe that is what we should be looking at right now. That, okay, what should be in place before these children go back to school? Because if you want to really say when, they might have to wait at home for forever. Look at the case in Nigeria, for instance. The cases are even rising. You get it? So if they keep on rising, do you say that, okay, these children should keep staying at home? Mind you, these are the same children that can go to the market, follow their parents to the market because the markets are open. These are the same children that can follow their parents to different kinds of places, you know, not necessarily the school. So we need to talk about the regulations, the protocol that should be in place for schools reopening. But for me, I think that is the most important thing.
Okay, but looking at the primary sector, you know, we are talking about children, and your children, when it comes to this, they are free spirited. You know, they chat with their friends, they want to talk, they want to share their experience about the holidays with them. And you know, before I came in, my aunt was actually telling me that you know, our daughter in school, she met her daughter giving you know, putting the water bottle in a friend's mouth so that she would drink because she was coughing. So, you know, these children, they don't see anything bad in this. Do you think these children will be able to cope with these safety guidelines that they are putting for them, like put on the face mask, sanitize your hand? Do you think these children will be able to cope with that?
Well, I think we are faced with two options here. Either for these children to keep on staying at home until COVID-19 is gone, which we do not know the time, or for us to find a way of working with the school, and you know, parents also doing their own bit of it in educating these children and making sure that, you know, okay, now this is another time. You tell your child, you don't give your water bottle to somebody else. You must make sure you wear your face mask. You must, you know. I think we just have to work around making the two go together as it is right now. Otherwise, we might need to keep these children at home for a very, of course, some people have said that no, we want the safety of our children, we want to be sure that the children are safe. I agree that children first, their safety first, but at the same time, what I'm saying is that as it is right now, we don't know when this thing is going. They keep on telling us, in fact, that there is another strain of COVID-19 that we might have in Nigeria now. And unfortunately, we are not a country that even knows how to do this online education. So does it mean that these children will stay home forever? Should these children be the victims of this COVID-19 alone? Should there be something that could be done, in helping them? Okay, if you want to keep them at home because of the sensitivity, because these are small children, it takes a lot to get them protected, then what options are we putting in place? We need to look at it from that side. But I don't support the fact that children should just be kept at home just like that.
You mentioned online teaching.
Yeah.
And during the lockdown, some teachers, some schools were actually teaching their students online. Well, how effective do you think is the online teaching?
I just told you, even the Commissioner for Education, I had a Zoom meeting. I attended the Zoom meeting, let me put it that way, I wasn't the only one. She had the meeting and I was also present. And in that meeting, she actually said that only 150 schools in Lagos are doing what we can probably, describe as online teaching, which means that a lot of the so-called online teaching are not even online teaching. Now, this is to show us that we still have a very long way to go in terms of online teaching. I don't think it is very effective. And of course, there are so many factors, even militating against, the delivery of online education in Nigeria. So, how effective? Probably, maybe you score it 20 over 100.
20 over 100, that's very low.
Yeah.
No, but you're talking about this, like you said, some of the schools that some of them can't really classify it as online teaching. So what are the things that they've really done wrong when it comes to delivering this teaching?
It's not about what they have done wrong. It's about what they were able to offer. They also offer things according to what they could do. It's not about doing things wrongly. It's just like, what is online teaching? What are you offering? Online teaching is a loose word. Ordinarily, getting across with your children, with your pupils through WhatsApp, you can call it online teaching. But is that the normal delivery of online education? But a lot of schools, that is what they do. They exchange notes through WhatsApp, and you can imagine how cumbersome. That means there is no form of face-to-face interaction, and there are limitations to that. Some of them, they just drop assignments and they tell the children to do it. Some are even using radio. The government schools are using radio and television. And you also know that there is a limit because, there is no interaction.
Yes.
It's like, it's still a one-way. And if you want to make it a two-way, it takes time. So those are the challenges.
Okay, now let's look at, when it comes to this teaching, not everybody have the privilege of having a laptop, computers, and data to access the internet and access all these things. What do you think about this? Because what we've been saying now is just the metropolitan areas. What of the rural areas? How adequate do you think the percentage of these children have been taught online now? And the schools are also teaching it.
Yeah, to start with, even when we talk about this online teaching, for now, we are even thinking about private schools. We need to get that right.
Private schools.
Yeah, private schools.
What are the government schools?
The government schools are doing radio and television.
Okay.
And even for radio and television, government even knows they know the limitations of what they are doing. That is why Lagos State, for instance, bought 300,000 transistor radios for its pupils, because a lot of them don't even have access to radio. So how do you even, as simple and as cheap as radio is, you now talk about television, which needs power. And how many people, how many people have access to electricity now? Now, talking about computers and the rest, you don't just go there when you are even thinking of public schools. How many of them have access to computers? How many can even afford data? So, I mean, it's like we have two sets of classes of students in Nigeria for now. The public one and the private one. The private ones are struggling to do something, and the public ones, there is even a limitation to start with. There is a wall that cannot be broken through. So it's like, and it's so sad, because these children they don't have the same access to education at all.
Okay, now, looking at this, before the lockdown and also before the schools were shut down, some of these students, some of the schools, they've actually finished their second term exam, and we have some that have not even done it, but they finished their curriculum. But the third term, they've not done it at all. So when they are to resume back to school now, at what point are they supposed to go back to? What point are they supposed to start from?
Well, the Lagos State government, and I think the federal government has also said it, that children are resuming to third term. They are starting, even for those doing online teaching now, everybody is starting from third term, so that at least everybody will have a common start point, so that nobody is losing anything or missing anything. I think that is a good one. So it doesn't mean that because some people started, some are finishing it. So everybody is still going to start from the same point, and they will still follow the same academic calendar. Government has made that clear, and I think even the schools and their owners, they are aware that they are starting from certain.
Okay, so those that didn't really have access to the online classes, and also to just some organize some things when they were at home, they will actually benefit from this, but we started from the top 10. I think that's a very good one. Thank you, let's go on short break, and when we return, we'll continue. I've been discussing with Mrs. Olabisi Deji Folitile, the former editor Saturday Punch, and the editor-in-chief FrankTalkNow.com. We'll be going on a short break now, but when we return, we'll continue further. We'll continue discussing the effect of COVID-19 in the education sector. But while we are on the break, don't forget to like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, and you can always visit our website for the stories we're discussing here, and that's www.vanguardngr.com. Also, don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section. We'll be back. And Social Life, a platform where everything related issues are being discussed. That stage of adulthood, faced with challenges of social interaction, sexual orientation, family life, and social development during the teen years. We also learn signs of problems and talk about important topics facing the youth. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Youth and Social Life. My name is Dami, and we've been discussing effect of COVID-19 in the education sector. And discussing with me is Mrs. Olabisi Deji Folitile, former editor Saturday Punch, and now the editor-in-chief FrankTalkNow.com. And she has highlighted some points and some parts that at the end that these things have really affected us. But let's continue from where we start. Okay, ma. Before the break, we've talked about how it has affected the primary schools and the secondary schools, and also now let's look at the university. Talking about the university, there was a time that the minister, talked about universities that they should teach their students, lecture them online. But at the time, there were just few universities that were able to do this. So, what do you think happened about that when it comes to that?
Well, it's so funny that I actually did an article on the ministerial order, and I said Minister Adamu, going online goes beyond ministerial order. I mean, I think the minister was just trying to be politically correct. He was just trying to sound politically correct. He knew that universities, public universities especially, couldn't go online. Besides, the lecturers are even still currently on strike. Yes. And besides being on strike, let's look at state universities, for instance. who shouldn't be on the IPPIS that is causing one of the reasons for the strike. But even at that, how many universities actually have the facilities to run online education in Nigeria? I don't think there are many. And of course, there are so many factors that will determine if online education is going to work. For instance, we need to look at the number of students that really have access to computers, the tools, how many of them have access to data, how many of them have access to constant power supply. You know, a lot of things really. How much of this do we have in place in our universities that can make them to actually migrate online as instructed by the minister? I don't think we have so many of them.
So where do you think the government is really supposed to come in when it comes to this, instead of just giving the ministerial help out that you can?
I think Nigeria didn't prepare for COVID-19. Nobody did.
I don't think
nobody did. Yes, nobody did. But I also think COVID-19 has just exposed the kind of systems we run in our universities. You know, ordinarily we shouldn't be struggling at this point about online teaching. You ask yourself, why is it that in other parts of the world they are not even struggling about it? Education just continued like that. So which means that there are things that ought to have been in place that are not in place. So it's not about government doing something right now. It's about what ought to have been done before now that was never done, and what should be done going forward.
Yes.
Do you get it? Yes. So it's now, so our own is like starting from the scratch right now, and which means we need to prepare for ICT learning, you know, online learning. We need to equip our ICT departments. You ask yourself, why do we have ICT departments in universities, and the lecturers and students, they still queue? They can't even afford to do things. You know, what are they doing? We need to begin to ask ourselves, are they just there by name, or what are the things preventing them from functioning the way they are supposed to? Those are the issues that we need to address. It's not as if we don't know that they should be in place. That is why we have the ICT, yes. Isn't it? And I'm sure that you know, government will have at one time or the other provided money for development of you know, all of these centers. But we need to look at the connectivity, issue of connection. We need to look at issue of data provision. Are we trying to collaborate more with telecommunication companies to ensure that we have you know, better or cheaper access to data for students, for lecturers? You know, those are the things that I think we should be looking at going forward. Then incorporating online teaching into our curriculum.
I think this we also need to look at the online libraries.
Yes, then online virtual library. You know, do we have virtual library, for instance? And this is a project that started right from more than, you know, probably 15 years ago in Nigeria. What is the status? Why is it the way it is? Why can't universities, for instance, access, you know, virtual library? I know National Universities Commission started this project more than 15, 20 years ago. Why are we still where we are right now? So those are the things that I think government should be looking into.
Okay, now, so this question now, do you think both the primary, the universities, do you think they are really prepared for the student to come back?
Well, like I mentioned before we started this meeting, that I'm working on something like that. Some schools are preparing, and I was also. But
how prepared are they also?
Well, you also maybe we should look at what does it take to prepare. Now, we talk about protocols now.
Yes. Okay,
put this in place for the children, you know, washing hands, putting basins, you know, buying masks. You have to reduce the number of children in class and things like that. I think some of them are preparing and doing some of these things. And I think some are still confused. Right now, they don't even know what to do. You know, they are owing a lot of teachers And part of that preparation is also how to offset your teachers' salaries if you want them back to school. You get it?
Yes.
So that is part of preparation. Are they also taking loans to pay teachers and things like that? I don't know what the universities are doing, but I'm also aware that some university senates are already sitting, looking at, the modalities for resumption. But as it is, nobody is telling us what they are doing in preparation for them. But I think they must be taking some steps that are
Okay, finally, you mentioned the financial sector of these schools, the proprietaries and everything. How do you think the government can come in when it comes to this, helping the school owners, to start the school again, and also, to equip the schools and make it ready? Like you were saying that some of the teachers, to get some of the teachers back might be very difficult. So how do you think the government can help when it comes to this? The private school owners.
Government itself is also in distress. But under a normal circumstance, there should be a soft landing for private schools and their owners in situations like this. Probably like a kind of soft loans and the rest. But government is saying that they should assess the normal CBN, whatever loan that it has already put in place, which might not work for them because it's a peculiar sector.
Yes.
So I think ordinarily there should be a kind of relief for them in form of loans. Then I also think that for now they should be excluded from taxes. At least let them. I think they should get that palliative from government. But beyond that, there is little
that the
government can do.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely having you with us in the studio. And I've had Mrs. Olabisi Dejifulitile, that's editor-in-chief, franktalknow.com, and former editor, Saturday Punch. And she has discussed the effect of COVID-19 in the education sector. And she says the students are ready to go back to school, but the schools need to put some things in line for them to go back, and there need to be some protocols that will be released for the students will actually go back. And she was actually talking about the virtual teaching and online classes that some schools have done it and they've been successful, while some have not also been successful. That not all online classes can actually be called online classes, because some of them actually did not get it. So those are some of the points. But if you want to just get more of this, you can always go to our website, and that's www.vanguardngr.com. And also don't forget to like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's bye from me, Damola Okunshaki, and don't forget to always stay safe, protect yourself, and don't expose yourself to dangers, because also that's the best way to protect your families and your neighbors. Bye. And Social Life, a platform where everything related issues are being discussed. That stage of adulthood, faced with challenges of social interaction, sexual orientation, family life, and social development during the teen years. We also learn signs of problems and talk about important topics facing the youth.